Okay. Hello, everybody. So my name is Martha Alter Hines, and I'm here with a wonderful group of beings today. It's gonna make me cry again. So we are here to be present with the being of Saturn and to talk about our relationships with this being that we've been developing over time individually together. Everybody here is currently part of either the Astrology 101 course that I hold and or the Astrology 102 course. A couple people are actually currently in both. So it's a little funny, but so everybody here has gone through Astrology 101, either there now and finishing up that year, um, or were in Astrology 101 last year and now are finishing up Astrology 102. And then I have the third round of Astrology 101 starting again on March 4th. So anyway, so these people have been in this journey with me and with each other for at least the last 11-ish months, 10, 11 months. And in this past month in Astrology 101, we were with the sign of Capricorn and the being the planet of Saturn, and then the constellation of the the Archer, which is under basically underneath the sign of Capricorn. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here today is really dropping in together to the presence, especially of this being Saturn, because a big part of what we do in these astrology journeys together is remember our relationships with these alive, conscious beings of the planets. And so much has come alive for me. My relationship to them has changed drastically. And I know for each person here in their own ways, that has happened as well. So that's really what we're here to be with, and also to invite all of you to bring yourselves into this circle. And I'm going to start out by just helping us all to be present with this being we call Saturn. And then I'm going to open it up to everybody here to share what has been alive and what's currently alive for you. And I'll say astrologically, part of why Saturn right now. One reason is Saturn is incredibly alive astrologically at this moment because it is in those very, very, that very last part of the sign of Pisces, and it's about to re-enter Aries on February 13th, 2026, and then it's going to be conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries on February 20th. So very alive energy for Saturn right now. Yes, and much more, but I'm gonna move on to helping us drop in because I know all of you are gonna say things that I probably want to say. Um, and it's better coming from you. Okay, so first, yeah, I would love to just invite us all to um, drop into our bodies and feel the reality that we are literally beings of the earth, and the earth is a being of this solar system, really the family of the planets, the asteroids, everything seen and not seen of this solar system. And of course, we are part of the whole community and family of the cosmos. And I would love, in whatever way, if it feels right for you, to just invite you to feel the being, this very alive, massive being of the planet we call Saturn. Just feel the presence of that being in your own way. Come forward and really acknowledge you. Feel the being acknowledging you, and perhaps you acknowledging Saturn itself. I often feel this kind of like if I'm in a redwood forest or a sequoia grove, these ancient, incredibly wise tree beings are so alive, and similarly, of course, the planets are alive and so ancient, much more than a tree, so wise, with incredible medicine, history, infinite dimensions to their beings, just like the Earth has infinite dimensions, just like existence has infinite dimensions. Yeah, and just maybe take a moment to feel yourself connecting heart to heart, soul to soul, with this being we call Saturn. Just feel that acknowledgement, the love, powerful love flowing from this being to you, and perhaps from you to this being. And feel this beautiful relationship that exists always. And maybe, if it feels right, even invite this relationship to begin in a new way and to begin a beautiful journey together over the rest of this lifetime and beyond. So thank you all for joining us. And so it is. Amen. Okay. So yeah. Does anybody want to go first in terms of sharing about what's alive there with Saturn or Capricorn, whatever's here present, your heart and soul? Jennifer.
I've been thinking about how this winter I go outside. It gets dark early because I live up north. But I'd go outside to look at the stars I and there would be Saturn just above the horizon, so faint but definitely there. Very different from Jupiter, who's just so bright and um almost in your face, but Saturn seems so steady there. And I think it was in the stars of the Pisces constellation, or just, right below there. And it's so beautiful. And then I thought about how our ancestors, that was the last visible planet. That's the most outer planet that they could experience with their eyes. And how Saturn has that relationship with every one of our ancestors because Saturn's been there all along. And then something I never thought about until I was in the stars course is that Saturn is actually older than some of the stars. I just think that's just amazing to me. So that's just the thought that I had.
Wonderful. Thank you. And that's sparking for me something just basic I want to also say for everyone is another reason I really felt called to hold space today for Saturn is because Saturn, along with Mars, right, and very traditional astrology are called the malefics. So Saturn has had this reputation of being a bad planet. Um, and I think that's part of what we've all been feeling is like, wow, oh man, okay, let's come to a different way of relating to this being for lots of reasons, for ourselves, for the world, for the being itself, right? Yeah. So that's like such a yes, beautiful. Thank you.
And following on Jennifer's idea that Saturn is that last planet that is visible with the naked eye, for me, Saturn has been this gateway to actually connect with the cosmos. I've been in this class for almost 11 months, and Martha knows very well that it was difficult for me to connect, but Saturn has been like, again, my gateway, the shaman that has led me to step into, I'm going to say, becoming like a cosmic being. And it's been an amazing experience for me. And regarding your comment, Martha, on it being or it being considered the malefic, for me, I'm also feeling Saturn as a container that, yes, it puts limitations on you until the timing is right. And so it's been amazing. Saturn has been quite the experience for me.
Do you want to say more? I'm so curious. I haven't heard you say this before. That do you want to say more about how it's been a gateway for you to the, yeah.
Yes, in the previous channelings, I was able to get to the different planets that we were studying, but it was not as vivid as Saturn has been. And as I was considering that, I figured, you know, I had read or heard whatever that Saturn is considered the shaman because it connects the worlds, and that's when it hit me. I said, you know, maybe this is what's happening to me. The fact that I had I was given permission to access the shamanic information or energy, and then I feel more open to connecting to farther away planets.
Wow. Yes, that's amazing. So it right. So to clarify for people, just like Jennifer was saying, Saturn is the furthest planet from the Earth that is visible without a telescope, and so it's often considered a bridge between kind of the Earth world and the outer world. It's considered part of the middle world in a sense. So yeah, so it's often associated with this shamanic quality and being a bridge energy. So that's amazing. Do you want to? You could share this now or later. Or you don't have to share it all, but do you also want to share your experience of being in the rings? I feel like that's also related to what you're saying there.
Yes, yeah. Basically, when I was in the channeling for our Saturn channeling session, I I made it to the rings of Saturn, and I was asked to wait in the rings, in the wings, out of respect, out of learning boundaries. And I was able to look at Saturn, this big ball of gas, and I was able to contemplate Saturn uh, without the rings, in a sense, like I was always looking at, thinking of Saturn and thinking of the rings. But I love the idea that I was asked to wait and to respect the boundaries. And then I was taken into the planet, and I felt safe. That was my experience.
Amazing. I love that for so many reasons. Thank you, Marcella. Chris, yes.
The first time when we channeled in class, I really, like in the core of the planet, I could see like aurora lights and hear whale songs. But most of it, I was too deep in it to be able to bring back out all that, whatever occurred. And I went back and I listened to the channeling a second time, and I had the most extraordinary, vivid, remember every little thing kind of experience where I visited. Um, First of all, I met one of my guides in the morning. I have a little small meditation group in the neighborhood, and I met one of my guides, um, and he went with me. So I went with him to Saturn, and when I got there, my first hit was it made me laugh. I'm like, this is like the Jetsons. There's just stuff going on all over the sky, going in every which direction. And I I stood there and there were the rings, and the rings are very distinct and different when you're that close. They're not just bands, they're full of activity, and they've got the moons and the debris, and then the other moons are going, some of them are going this way and some of them are going that way, and the sky is just full of activity. It was just an extraordinary exhibition of the sky. And then when we went inside, it's like the gases in the atmosphere, the interior was like just shimmering like tiny little diamonds, just the energy just shimmered, um and the whale songs were still in the core. But the whole experience was so visceral and vivid, and I seem to have this real connection to Saturn. I've never gone back and rechanneled a a planet, and I felt drawn to do it with this one, and it made me think of, Jennifer, was it you that talked about right timing? Because I had just met that guide, my one of my guides that morning, and you know how I grumble of, oh, I can't see them, and I was sort of grumbling in meditation that morning, and a little voice says, well, if you would just be quiet and not always trying to consume something and just be still, maybe it would help. And so I got quiet and sat in the circle with my guides and just waited. And of course, one came right up. And then later in the day, when we were channeling, or I went back to channel, um, he went with me to Saturn, and the whole thing was just numinous and visceral. And I feel like I've been there. I feel like I've really seen the moons going through the sky and all these different places, and Titan's so huge as a moon. And, you know, we have the sun and the moon, and we're used to the sky being fairly empty. And up there, it's a very busy place full of all kinds of, what is it, 275 moons popping around. And it was really a visceral experience. It was the strongest that I've had in the class. That's it.
Amazing, really. Yeah. And also, so to clarify for people, part of what we've been doing, part of what we do each month in the Astrology 101 is we are with the astrology of the planet, but we're also with the astronomy and the science of the planet. So we learn about all the planets who have moons, we learn about their moons. Um, yeah, which is one of my favorite parts. Personally, I love learning about the moons. And yeah, and then we do the channeling and the yeah. So it's multi-layered and yeah, just amazing. Barbara, do you feel like you want to say anything else about the moons because you've been exploring some extra stuff about these amazing moons of Saturn?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to say that the day the day or two after we had the channeling, I was with a group of friends and people were just commenting, catching up and saying where they had been. You know, one person had gone to Scotland and someone else had gone to Connecticut, and they asked me and I said, "Oh, I went to Saturn." And they kind of go cross-eyed, but it was true. It was true. So I shared as much as I could with them, but not as much as, I could share with all of you. But the thing is, it really is different. I remember years ago when my brother had a telescope in his backyard, and I was able to see Saturn before I had entered any of these astrology courses. And it was like, wow, because you can see the rings and all of that through the telescope in the backyard. But it's such a different experience to look at Saturn or to hear what other people have said about Saturn being father time, kind of this stern being where you think, uh-oh, you know, but traveling there and having the experience of getting to know Saturn and experience the Saturn, it is so different. It is so alive. And then you listen, not only with your outer ears, but your inner ears. What is this being communicating to me? And how I see, for example, like the rings are so extraordinary. One of the things about the rings that I'll say before I talk about the moon is that the rings have on either side of them what are called shepherding moons that travel on one side and the other and go around kind of holding the rings in place because they're dust and heaven knows what else. But what I love about them as I was with them and experiencing them is that they don't hold them rigidly. They allow them to do what they want to do. They're still the rings, but that's the thing about the rings or the boundaries is that the boundaries don't always have to be rigid. Sometimes they are. We have a clear boundary that doesn't change, but sometimes they change. Sometimes there's boundaries that we need to loosen a little bit, or some that we have to tighten a little bit, depending on what is right in this moment. And when I was with Saturn, I was really feeling that message and knowing that I can always open myself to the energy of Saturn when I'm in a certain place in my life where I'm contemplating that or being with how certain boundaries have to be in my life. And Saturn is, I don't know, a friend, a companion, an energy that I have access to all the time. And so it's so different from it's great to look at it in a telescope, but this is a totally different experience. The energy of it is so powerful. And yes, I'll mention about the moons because it's like, whoa, I don't know, I don't know how many moons, but I know there's more than 150 moons and it could be 200 or whatever. But the moons that fascinated me when we were in the astronomy part of it, I think, and then I experienced it in the channeling, was that there's a group of moons that are called Inuit moons. And the Inuit moons travel in the opposite direction of all the other moons. It's like, what? And that speaks to me because I don't know. I relate to things that don't go along with the common way of doing things. That speaks to me. Whenever I see that, I go, oh, I'm going to pay attention there because I feel like I do that in my life also. Um, but anyway, paying attention to those moons and also finding that one of them in the Inuit moons. And then I started looking at the Inuit people and all of that and found that one of the Inuit moons that goes around Saturn is called Siernak, which in Inuit language means Sedna. So we've got Sedna orbiting Saturn. And I don't know, it speaks to me somehow and I'm with it. It's beautiful. It's a live thing. And here's Saturn being as it has to be centered because it's having to deal with all these things spinning around it in one way or another and still just holding it, watching it all happen, being with it, holding however it holds all of that in place. So it's a very, very powerful energy. And I think it speaks to me a lot now because of everything that's going on in the world and how things are spinning all around us and how we just stay and pay attention and maintain our own centeredness also and proper boundaries, however they have to shift and change. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Amazing. Yeah, also, so just to clarify for everybody, so yeah, Saturn has all these different groups of moons, right? So there's the Titan moons, which are the main big moons, including Titan, the big one. Uh, it has this one called Enceladus, which we learned a bit about. That's so, this one cracks me up so much. It's Enceladus has jets of water coming out of its south pole all the time, and it goes around Saturn so fast that these jets of water are creating one of the rings. So it's like, imagine. I love your analogy, Chris, of the Jetsons. I hadn't thought about that, but that's hilarious because yeah. And then there's the shepherding moons, and then there's the Inuit moons, there's Norse moons, and Gaelic moons. And yeah, and the most of the moons are going in one direction, but then these Inuit ones are going the other direction and are at a big tilt. So you can imagine all these different layers of moons and rings and yeah, it's wow, so much going on and so many different flavors of the energies or something, yeah, whole world. Thank you. And I'll just say astrologically, it's super fascinating with that moon that you learned about that is essentially called Sedna because Saturn with this moon Sedna is coming as it enters Aries will be in this sextile with Sedna and Uranus and Pluto actually, but yeah, that's just yeah, I don't have an explanation for what that means, but it's just beautiful. Thank you. Joy? Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, Barbara, about the shepherding moons. 'Cause I so feel that just about like the energy of Saturn in general. Like yeah, they feel very nurturing. Like I feel a very kind of more like feminine yin energy coming, which is, when I first learned about Saturn, it again, it felt very heavy, right? And very like tight and structured. And the more that I am with the energies of Saturn, I really feel that deep, it's like the deep waters, right? Or the deep something, this deep presencing. And so that feels really resonant about the shepherding. Um, and I also this whole idea of the shaman, right? And Marcella, how you talked about introducing you to just further out, and for me, I would take that and just be like it's kind of reflecting back into me, like my inner shaman, and um, because really, I think what all of these, it's like when I am establishing and just like being invited into a relationship with these beings, I mean, first of all, it's like it's inviting me into a deeper relationship with myself, which is so healing, but it's also doing it like like I'm in relationship with these benevolent beings, right? Like with beings who um are just nothing but love and who can be there to like support me in, as I'm growing and changing. And so just like being in their presence, and then it just like it's just reflected back to me, right? So it's like I can look at, oh, I can take a look at the shaman within myself. Um, and that's really powerful. And I think too, especially like, when we think of Saturn and um, the structures of Saturn, and they feel, tight and they feel, and I think for me personally, like I've just had a lot of resistance towards structures, in my life. But because I think like I've been reacting to them outside of me and haven't really had the opportunity to like build the structure of me, of like my true inner shaman and my true inner like self. Um, and my relationship with it's like my relationship with Saturn has just allowed me to do that. Um,
And there's been a lot, there's been a lot of like dissolving that's needed to happen. And I think about, Jennifer, you talked about just seeing Saturn in the sky. And I've so, like the last many months, just like I look up there and for part of it too, Saturn was like I would hold up my little stellarium thing and I'd see it close to Cetus the whale, right? And kind of in the tail. And so it's in that like oceanic space. And it just feels like they're helping me to dissolve like the structures that no longer are serving me and supporting me to just like rebuild. And literally, as I'm like rebuilding, things in my physical body and rebuilding, you know, just like everything as a whole, right? Um, yeah. So powerful, so wise, so nurturing. And I can be held in that, and I can also like have that be reflected back to like who I am as well. Yeah.
Yes, I've been feeling that a lot myself with Saturn currently in those end moments of being in the sign of Pisces, but also currently in the constellation of Pisces. And so that's the end of Pisces is the very end of the whole zodiac. So I personally have been recognizing, and this is like triple, triple, triple. Okay. And it's in this balsamic conjunction with Neptune, which means Saturn is finishing its whole journey, its whole cycle it's had with Neptune over the past whatever 20 whatever years. And now when a planet is coming back to meet up with another planet, it's called the balsamic conjunction, and that's often a time of releasing whatever that cycle has been about, right? So we're recording this on January 30th, 2026, and that conjunction is going to happen on February 20th. So that's in exactly 3 weeks from today. So this next 3 weeks, I realized this last night, is probably very likely a lot of us are going to be feeling a lot of these structures literally dissolving because it's the end of Pisces. It's in a balsamic conjunction with Neptune, which rules Pisces. Like it's double, double, triple, triple set of energies, all kind of supporting the same thing. Um, anyway, yeah, right.
Yeah, and when you have structures dissolving, like that is a really scary thing. Like that can just bring, like I know for me, just even as my own structures within myself are dissolving and are going, it's like I'm noticing a lot more fear rising up in me. And that also then is where like I can feel the presence of Saturn. It is that nurturing, loving and the reminder that like your inner shaman will lead the way, right? And your inner shaman is so much stronger and more benevolent, than that fear. And so knowing that like I can just kind of sit with that fear, right? And I can be with the fear. Which makes me think of the whole, connection with Capricorn and Cancer, right? It's that wise elder and the child. And my son is in Capricorn, and um, I just I just think that that's such a beautiful dance as well. Um, yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. Rhonda or Seth? You want, yeah, Seth and then Rhonda. Yeah.
All beautiful so far. And I love this discussion. I love Saturn in general, actually. I've liked Saturn for a long time, but being with Saturn this way definitely has allowed access to far more. It just keeps giving, basically, when we do it this way. I have a huge stellium in my birth chart in Capricorn, and my Saturn is with another stellium in Scorpio. So I feel like these themes are in my bone. So even the way that we've been with Saturn, which is like Satan or the Time Lord and all of these Taskmaster and all this stuff. Like I kind of feel like I'm friends with that as well, to be perfectly honest with you. I enjoy that discomfort and that friction that brings. So I want to say that. However, this nurturing side of Saturn is something that expands that infinitely, and it does feel like being held in a way through doing a difficult process. Whereas, like, I feel like I had to drag myself through a process. This is being held through a process. So I guess like this month, since we've been with these themes all month, right? My like best entry point where it really started to come alive was I brought this up in one of our last gatherings, but Martha, you were doing a channeling that was being discussed. I think it was in relation to Capricorn energy, right? And it was internally getting in touch with the original codes of existence was the phrase. And in my head, I was like, I like that. That intuitively feels real. And then I kept like circling back to it, and it was like catching me. And I was like, I can't feel that. I can't feel it in my body. What is it? Like I can logic it, but I can't feel that in my body. What's the problem? So like I was like, this is a Saturn. I need to call in my buddy Saturn to work with this, right? And so the idea there is that I wanted to see like, how do I find that? And what I was butting up against was my thinky parts that were bringing it back to that old question of fate versus free will, right? So it's like when I go back to the original codes, I'm like, well, then there's fate. Like, what we go back to the original code, like, where is free will here? And I kept on going back, and that's like, back and forth, right? So, and then I started expanding that out, and I really like studying history, how we got to where we are in terms, and I mean, definitely with astrology, but in general. And so, like, looking at Hellenistic astrology or like medieval astral magic, and like these descriptions, like if you've ever read any of this, it just feels like, so you have the malefic planet, it's Saturn, and they do really awful things like certain death for, like all these like really terrible sounding things, and it's hard to access that, so we've kind of like projected a modern view on the Hellenistic approach to astrology by saying that they were all just about fate. They just all were about fate. And then once we got to the modern, like psychological view, we like regained agency through that, right? But I feel like that's not right either. Like we're looking to the future. The future is something different than that. And I feel like it's marrying the two in a way that is very, very much aided by Saturn. So where I got to it was this through the Stoics, like looking back into the Stoics, and the Stoics have this idea of, which is like the foundation for all of Hellenistic stuff anyway. The Stoics have this idea of you can't control events, but you can cultivate responsibility. And every time I write responsibility, I write response dash ability, cultivate the ability to respond. And that was beautiful. And then there's the concept in that philosophy of sympathia, which is about shared tension. So like across all these dimensions, like a being as massive as Saturn, we could project all we want onto this being, and it's not going to break that being, and it's not going to hurt its feelings. You know what I mean? Like it holds that tension. It's a yes and participation with it, So that got me into going, like looking at these or trying to be with these beings as a like first principles. So like I've been playing with working with Venus as like a great attractor. I think I've mentioned this before, but as like the like love is gravity, like always pulling in toward unity, right? And then Jupiter is this ever expanding in all directions, ever expanding being. But Saturn is necessity right between them. And it's like gives context. It's so that anything can be anything. Anything can be something, you know, because you just have infinite expansion or you have infinite collapse, but you have this like boundary, this tension that allows anything to be anything to give you context. And yeah, Joy, you were talking about the structures, like so inner structures, inner patterns. They're whether we're blind to them or not, whether we keep them in the shadow, they still build our reality, you know? And so Saturn is he or she, they are the one inviting us to come into relationship with those patterns. And then so we can choose. So then, yeah, like, and then like, I try to not project onto the past or the future or anything like that. Just like be with what we got with Saturn right now. You already talked about the moons. One thing that I love is the surface of Saturn. What is it? Helium and hydrogen, right? So it's not a solid. It's like a gradient, a tension gradient. So if you were to like touch down into it, you would like sink into it and then be held by this gradient. And then I see these like the rings are like pattern in motion. It's not a solid thing either, right? It's pattern in motion. So I see habit. I see the retrograding moons as this like I feel them as foreign influence. Like when you have an entire system, but then there's something else that comes from the others from outside. How does that impact the whole system? And then I just Enceladus is my favorite. I think I keep going back to Enceladus because I feel like Enceladus points to what you were talking about, Martha, with that conjunction, the Neptune Saturn conjunction. Saturn already has this conjunction in its system. That is what Enceladus is to me. Enceladus is it's about venting pressure. It's creativity. It's the dream. Like how do you vent a pressure? And that is what Enceladus is doing. So it's like giving breath to a dream. Like how do you do that? You could hold it all in and it just explode, but this is like a really beautiful way to you create a shape. All right, there's where I've gone all over the place, but yeah.
Awesome. Yes. And one of the things I love in what you're saying there is like demonstrating, right, like that each of our soul is calling us to all these different ways of being with all these beings and with life. And yeah, that there's not one set way to be with it. And yeah, everybody here is demonstrating that, but it's really important to me. And
I don't think we should feel bad about projection. Like you've had that great conversation you had with Susie Miller, where she gave the example of the teachers that wrote all the things that they see in the child and then turn the page over and write all the things that you hope for the child and watch that child transform. Like that was such I cried when I heard her tell that story. I feel that the projection is just part of it. Like we have to examine it, but that is what we're participating in the cosmos. That's part of it. But we shouldn't do it just without thinking about the fact that's what we're doing. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. To be conscious with our projection. Right. Mm-hmm. A fine balance. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Seth. Rhonda.
Yeah, I love everything that everybody has said. And there's something that, that resonates me from everybody. But for me, it's really hard for me to separate my relationship with Saturn from Jupiter because I have Saturn at 24 degrees of Capricorn and Jupiter at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And I hadn't really been thinking about that a whole lot until you asked us to do this. And then and this time of year, like November, December, January, if it's nice enough out and if it's clear out at night, I could sit on my lanai and watch Jupiter rise every single night. And Sirius is right. It's really amazing. And then I started remembering last year when I was in 101 and we had these conversations and started thinking about, so all this stuff started coming back to me. And what I've really realized is that Saturn and Jupiter are like the operating system in the background of my life. It wasn't until last year that I started realizing that, and then now as I've been sitting with it more and more over these last couple of months, it's just now it's like obviously clear to me. But and we had talked about this last year, but for me it feels like this it's like grandfather energy. It's this very safe, held, loving energy that just lets me know that I'm okay, that everything's going to be okay, that no matter what's going on out there, no matter what's going on in my life, that I'm going to be okay. And I love what Barbara said about, all the everything going all everywhere and then coming back to center, because it reminds me of the spiral of life, that we are always on the spiral of life. But the center is always there, and we're always, if we choose, we can always come back to it. And that's what I, strive to do, but sometimes easier than others. But and the structures, like Joy was saying about the structures, when I look back over my life, I mean, I have really had challenges with structures, big challenges. And I see that too, though, through Saturn, that the challenges and the struggles they're really a beautiful gift, because that is how I have learned. And it's what gives me my strength and my resilience. And I had an interesting encounter a few weeks ago that really just all of a sudden it just clicked for me like that, because after Hurricane Ian, I did a trauma support group for people here on the island where I live. And one of the women that was in my group, she was a retired judge and really, really having a hard time. And of course, that group ended after several months. And then I hadn't seen her in a long time. Well, I ran into her a few weeks ago and she asked me how I was doing. And we had this, that conversation, oh, blah, blah, And she looked at me and she goes, "You must be so resilient. I don't know how you do it." And in the moment, I was kind of like, oh, okay. But then when I got home that day and I started thinking about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is the gift. That is the gift of my Saturn and my Jupiter together, that I just know it's just a part of me. I just know that no matter what happens, that I am going to be okay, that I'm going to be able to come back to my center. And I've always been too, when I look back over my life, I've been very good at the dissolving and the detachment. Like when structures aren't working for me, I move on to the next thing. It's, not that it's never hard, because it is, but I always know that this thing is dissolving because the next thing is something better for me at this moment in time or at this point in my life. So I just see it as it's just really a big gift. And I would have never, ever, had I not been in these courses, I mean, I just would have never known that. So yeah, it's been a really amazing and beautiful journey.
Mm. Thank you, Rhonda.
Mhm.
I'm just, yeah, thinking of your background as a social worker, right? And like that grounding, resilient energy that you would have brought. I mean, not obviously to that group you were holding that the judge was in, but like all of the work you've done for years and years, and
Yeah,
amazing.
lots of community work. And then after the two hurricanes, a year ago, and all the community work, and always being able to kind of be that center point, that balancing point when everything is in chaos. I mean, your whole world is literally topsy-turvy, upside down, chaotic, and being able to hold that space so that people can feel safe and know that, we are gonna get through this. We're gonna be okay. Um,
Mm. Wow. Thank you, because I think I'm just curious and wondering, people listening, right? I hear this from a lot of people who have strong Capricorn placements and strong Saturn placements. Again, we have the stereotype like, uh-oh, oh no, blah, 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 blah. But I just, yeah, it's really touching me because I'm imagining people listening who probably are hearing you and going, oh yeah, I also have really strong XYZ in Capricorn, or Saturn is conjunct my South Node or my Sun or something's very strong. Um, and I've always thought that that was a bad thing, but wait, you're right. You know? So, yeah, for people who are feeling that, please share with us, because I just have a guess that's part of what's going to be going on for people listening. So, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, okay, so what I am feeling before we close, I would love to know if there's other things arising for you, but I would like to um what I'm feeling called to do is kind of bring this to this moment we're in, right? For the world, in the world, right? So we're recording this on January 30th, 2026. We're 3 weeks, literally exactly 3 weeks out from the Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. And that is one of the top two transits, I would say, of all of 2026. The other one being the Uranus squaring the nodes in June. So this is a big transit, and it's one way that a lot of people would describe it, including me, is, stereotypically you would think, okay, this is probably a lot of dissolving of all these structures and then coming to this moment of starting new structures that are probably going to take a sort of the sacred slow, probably take their sacred divine timing to show themselves. It's not going to probably be an instant momentary, like, oh my God, here are all the new structures. It probably will not probably work like that. But it is an energy that is very likely, I would guess, we're going to feel in ourselves and we're going to see in the world the glimmer, like the seeds being planted of, okay, here's where this is the new something something. So um so what I would love to hear from any of you who want to say something briefly is, like, if you just um like, no need to answer from your minds, right? Just if you drop into your bodies, is there something in your relating to this being of Saturn? Yeah, this is what let me hang on one second. Let me just feel this. Is there something that's alive there for you from the being of Saturn itself, or in your own being, all of the above, because we're all the same. We're all that. Saturn is us, we are Saturn, but is there something arising in you that feels like you want to say about the truth you're feeling in either the opportunity of this moment, or how you're feeling called to hold yourself, or be present in your own life, or something you're wishing for in this moment that we're in, of the dissolving and then starting the new. um I don't know, whatever is there, kind of in this present time that we have. This is a big moment on the planet. So yeah, what's there for you? And actually, you could also speak about your own life. You could speak about the world. You could also speak to, I would say, one of the structures I think has the opportunity to be dissolving and then starting anew is even our approach to astrology. So kind of, that's a big multi-layered question, but you get the feeling of what I'm asking. Yeah. Marcella, then Chris, yeah.
What I'm feeling is the turbulence, the waters, but just like a rough sea, under the at the bottom is so quiet. And that is the resilience that Rhonda was referring to. That's the way I felt it. And as we move to this conjunction with Aries, I think that we're going to embody that resilience. Each of us will be embodying that resilience.
Amazing. Yes. I love that. Thank you. Chris.
Well, obviously on the national scene, I would hope that structures dissolve and reconfigure in a way that is not just an old copy of something from before, but on a personal level, and I can't even imagine it yet. I think a lot of the old structures of my life are going to dissolve because my daughter, who is 43 and I'm 79, is going to have a baby. Yeah, it's wonderful, but she doesn't have a partner or anything, so we're going to be filling in a lot of gaps, and I can just almost feel all the structures dissolving out there, but I have not much of a clue of what it's going to look like. So it's an interesting, it's a really interesting feeling. I can't feel into it, but I except for the kind of the dissolving piece, and that I can feel in a
Amazing.
great way, but in a way that will be changes that I don't think I can foresee.
Yeah, I think that's a great metaphor for everything.
Yeah.
I think that's just true. Wow. Congratulations. I'm so excited to hear more. Yay. Amazing. Becoming a grandma. Saturn. Saturn, Saturn, Saturn. Hmm. Thank you. Barbara, yes.
Yeah, with the question that you just asked, what I'm feeling about this conjunction, I'm feeling also that things are already, it's not like a one, like, okay, so today it's here and tomorrow it's dissolved and it's gone. It's a process. It's all in a process right now. But, from Saturn and also from just the cosmos in general, how through these journeys that we've been on, in these courses, which are journeys really, all of us together and sharing and witnessing one another. For me, it's really about trusting and not trying to think what I even want to happen. I mean, overall, I know that we want love and peace and equality and all of that, but I want in my personal life I feel like I'm held in such a mystery with all these different energies and just held in the cosmic energies that I want to allow my own, I don't know, do I have rings? I don't know if I have rings, but allow them to guide me and allow whatever wants to come in to just permeate through me so that it shows up in my experience and not try to even figure it out from before, but feel it and know it and allow it to just permeate through my being in every action and every way that I show up. And it might be surprising to me. I don't know. But not knowing is okay. For me, it's okay. I trust and the intention is always that it be light filled and that it be benevolent. But all of these energies are just so, so, so powerful and have a wisdom that is so much greater than what my little human mind can figure out. And just to know that and to be held by that and allow that to come through as it wants to make itself present in our world now. And that can only happen through us. So we allow it. We allow it to come in, and I allow whatever my boundaries have to shift and change and allow them in some ways to be somewhat permeable so that these energies can show up through me in the world.
Mm. Yes. I feel that in my body. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, Rhonda and Seth.
Well, I love that, Barbara. I just really love that because I really do think that's for me anyways, it's the trust is big because we can't know. We just can't know. But if we trust ourselves and trust the cosmos, spirit, the great mystery, whatever, all of it, that because we are so lovingly being held and guided and the support is there. We just have to be open to it. We have to be open to receive it. And and we had that conversation the other day about receiving, how for some people, for some of us, it's very hard to receive. But this is the time that we need to learn to open to receive all of the possibilities, the endless possibilities of the beauty that can come.
Speaking of that, very optional, and you absolutely can say no. Jennifer, would you want to share your story recently about this? It's such a powerful story. Okay. Yeah, I think people will love it.
So, as so many of us have this experience, it's really hard for me to ask for help. Just I'll climb shelves in the store aisle to not ask for help. So, when you did that channeling about how the spirit world wants us to ask for help, like on a daily basis, and for things we wouldn't normally do, that really resonated. But what had happened before that, where I feel like I was already tuning into those energies that you were bringing through, we had in one of the classes, I'm in too many courses, but you had done a channeling with Sirius and the Syrian beings, and as before we really even got started, my body had just like cried out, help me, because I'd been having a lot of upper back pain that was really intense, and nothing like Tylenol or whatever seemed to help it. And my brain is going, no, shh, don't, this isn't about that, this isn't about you. But as soon as you opened up the space, it's like these Syrian beings is how I saw it, rushed in and went to work on my back, and that pain went away, and it's gone. So it's crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it was so beautiful, and it really taught me something about myself. And yes, we do have to be open. If you're open to receiving, and if you can teach yourself to ask for help when you need it, or to let your body ask for help when it needs help, there's who knows what the limit is. It's life-changing to start doing that. And in my body, I was thinking, I know Seth was going to go next, but I feel a lot of these astrology energies in my body. And so when Neptune moved into Aries, I feel like this opening of the chest and almost like a spreading of wings. And then with Saturn right there, like a supportive partner with the palm of a hand in the small of my back, like I've got you. And so that's my physical feelings in my body right now, of that expansion, and support. So for whatever that's worth.
That's worth a lot. It's like, for whatever that's worth a lot. I feel it so much. Oh my goodness. Really gonna make me cry. And I just want to highlight a little bit about that, because I feel like what you're saying is so important on so many levels. Um, Specifically, right, that act of asking for help is what allowed you to receive the healing. That was what did it, really, right? And Saturn, Capricorn, and Aries, and Mars energy are all ones that can, in an out of balance way, not ask for help. And it's so fascinating to me that we have Saturn entering Aries, but we still have this time while it's doing this dissolving energy in Pisces, and then it'll be with, like you're saying, I love that way you're describing it, that it's a partner with Neptune. Oh my goodness, like exquisite, because the Neptune energy, exactly what you just, right? I can feel that in my body, like the Neptune energy maybe supporting us to open as Saturn moves into Aries and comes to Neptune. This is so beautiful, really. Oh my God, I just haven't thought of it this way, because Saturn in Aries, in and of itself, again, in an out of balance sense, could be I have got this. I'm going to climb on those shelves and I will never ask for any help because I will just like, I'd rather die. Like, I'd rather just fall off the shelf than ever ask for anything. Um, and yet we have the choice to meet it differently this time around, right? It's finishing its cycle. So we can be letting go of this not asking for help thing and then dissolving into Neptune and opening at the same time that Saturn is stepping into this new way. Wow. Wow. Um, yeah. I love that story for so many reasons. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Seth, you wanted to say something?
It's mostly just echoing what everyone else has been saying. But when you ask, does Saturn have anything? Are you getting anything from Saturn? I had a phrase and a sensation that happened like immediately when you said that, which was "come to Keter," which is not come together, but come to Keter, which is crown in Hebrew, uh, and it is divine will. And I could feel all of these points coming out of the crown of my head, which is, Barbara, our rings. Those are our rings because that's our toroidal field. And so it was like divine will to me is, or self sovereignty is not me versus the world. Okay, it's not me versus the world. It's asking for the assistance of the all and collaborating with the assistance of the all. Because we have, uh, just talking astrologically, we have the Pluto in Aquarius, we have Gemini going into, or, I mean, Uranus going into Gemini. We are having so many distortion fields that want to invade our being. I think I mean, not to be alarmist about it, but I feel like there's so much that's trying to get through. We're asking about divine, divine assistance coming together. That bypasses all of that, or doesn't bypass. It's far larger than any distortion field that's coming our way.
Yeah, and that toroidal field image reminds me actually also of I've spoken other somewhere about my guides lately have had me be with my heart like a lotus flower, right? And have me actually they've been having me take out any and all protection in the back of my heart. They're like, actually, what you need to do, you don't need to protect yourself at all. You actually need to let that all go and just be the lotus. And it's like, oh yeah, oh, that toroidal field is very similar. And that would just the healthy being of my own or each of our own energy field is all that it's need. It's that self-sovereignty way of being. Feels like there's a lot there.
And how easy it is in a time like this uh, to allow the heartache to destabilize you. You know, I
Oh,
look at a lot of what my friends are experiencing, and it's just like they're getting crushed by the heartache of it all.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and
Right,
we won't
right.
be able to do we won't be able to do this next thing
Yes, yes,
if we're immobilized by the heartache. So, but it's counterintuitive, right? Because you're clearing out your heart. Like it's really scary in a way. But
yes, right. And just to say very briefly, that's exactly what for me was going on was not exactly heartbreak, but like that the being a very Piscean person, this is Saturn at the end of Pisces, that I had to figure out a different way to be compassionate for the world so that I could keep going. Like so I could keep doing the work I need to do. Uh yeah, that I couldn't if I were compassionate in this very acute way that I'm used to being, it just like it wouldn't function anymore. So right, something about this for us on various levels, those of us, especially all of us, pretty much are, right? Incredibly empathetic, incredibly compassionate. We really care. And yes, the Saturn Neptune. coming together, I would guess for a lot of us actually is this opportunity to come into these new structures, even around compassion, like how to love the world and be in a healthy state of in our energy body. Yeah. Wow. Mhm. Joy, were you wanting to say something? Or...
No, I just love that. And it makes me think like, yeah, and like loving the world. And then, I bring that back to myself. It's like the loving me, right? And it's like that structure of me that is based on that it comes from a place of love, right? It's like it comes from a place. And so like then everything I'm doing is grounded in this love that is therefore like going out into the world. Um, and I've had a really similar experience. Yeah, just like the clearing away of all the protections that it's like I didn't even know were there. That again, I think Saturn is totally helping me to see like those places of resistance, even that they kind of mask as resistance, but it's this protection. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I just and it also really strikes me too is like as these things are dissolving, I think like I mean, yeah, we can't see what's coming, but also it's everything that's been growing inside of us, right? It's like the invisible. It's like it's not like we don't see it, but it's in us. It's growing in us. And again, it makes me just think of that like the inner shaman and the inner knowing and we're just going to know. And it is this different structure of co-creating with the world, like and with all the beings, and which is such a different way of doing that. And I think it's so beautiful too that it's like that is in essence it's like as we build these relationships with all these beings, like that is what the new world is being made out of, right? Like that whole relationship and way of relating with others and not thinking like I have to do this on my own or I am alone. Um, yeah, feels just very, very uniting and beautiful.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Any last thing before we close? It's been so beautiful. Thank you so much. Um, Very deep and rich and inspiring and okay. Well, yes. So I will help us close out this time together, and I would love for all of you joining us to share what you're feeling in all of this. And as I close, I'm really feeling that presence of Saturn here. So I'm just gonna help us just be with that being for a few moments as we're closing. And um, yeah, I would love to hear in the comments, how you're feeling this being and what's coming alive for you, and just obviously what's coming alive for you as you're hearing all of us sharing. Um, yeah, thank you all for being here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just feeling this presence of this Saturn being so strongly. And again, each in our own ways, if it feels right, can feel yourself coming heart to heart, soul to soul with this being we call Saturn. All the moons, the Inuit moons, shepherding moons, Titan moons, Titan itself, the Gallic moons, the Nordic moons, all those rings, Enceladus with the water coming out of its south pole, moving really quickly around Saturn and creating one of the rings. The Jetsons like world, maybe, if that feels true for you. And just feel how, yeah, like I think it was Jennifer who said at the beginning that in every lifetime we've ever had on Earth, as an Earth being, or in this solar system, we have had a relationship with this being of Saturn. And our ancestors have all have had relationship with Saturn. The animals, the plants, the Earth itself has an ancient, billions of years old relationship with this being we call Saturn. And with the whole solar system, with all of the cosmos, we can just feel how this being knows us, has certainly known us this whole lifetime and in every other lifetime, knows us from forever, knows us as a soul in addition to an earth human being. And we can feel that deep, powerful love from this being, for this being. And I invite, again, everyone just to take a moment and, in whatever way feels right for you, just notice if there's a message, if there's just a feeling, even just a sense of a kind of a gentle hug or whatever is alive as you're present with this being of Saturn, its rings, its moons, its gaseous middle body. And perhaps take a moment to feel the love, feel the gratitude, feel the deep honoring mutually back and forth with this being. And maybe, if it feels right, express a thank you. Or maybe there's something you feel arising that you want to share or say to Saturn. And again, maybe Saturn has something it's wanting to share with you, either through words, through vision, through feeling, through an emotion. No wrong or right way. And then we can release anything and everything from this time together that does not serve each of our absolute radical highest good and the highest good of the all that is. Allow to anchor in anything and everything that does serve the highest good of ourselves and of the all that is. Feel those particles of light that do serve the highest good holding us, holding that Saturnian shaman, wise grandmother, grandfather, inner elder being that we each are inherently. And feel those particles of light that serve the highest good holding all of Earth, holding Saturn itself, holding this whole solar system, holding all of time, all of space, blessing everything. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. See you all soon.